I call this meeting of the Siloam Springs Planning Commission to order. Roll call.
Here.
Sally? McKinney?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Renard?
Present.
Kate?
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, approval of the minutes of the meeting of April the 9th. You've all received copies of the minutes for the April 9th meeting. Is there any comments or questions on those minutes? Hearing or seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of April the 9th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. First item on tonight's agenda is a special use development permit, SU 2403. Miss Megan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Megan Thomas, Planner 1. Let me pull that down a little more. So this is a special use request for property located at 202 Highway 412 West, Suite A. You may recall this property was previously the Eureka Springs Pizza, or Eureka Pizza, next to the police department. The applicant is requesting to allow greater than 50% age-restricted sales within a C2 zoning district. So this is their letter of intent. Again, they're proposing greater than 50% age-restricted sales. This will be a commercial retail smoke shop, so that's why they're having to get this special use permit for the C2 zoning district. However, the business will operate in the same manner as any other commercial retail use would. And this is the overall site view of the property. Staff has not received any calls or correspondence on this request, and staff is recommending approval with no needed conditions. Staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to address this permit, special use permit? Commissioners, do you have questions? Seeing no one raising their hands or indicating they want to speak, roll call, please. Or I'll entertain a motion, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve SU 24-03 Special Use Development Permit.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Now roll call.
McKinney?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Renard?
Yes.
K. Williams?
Yes. Yes.
Song?
Yes.
T. Williams?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Okay, motion is approved. This will go to the board on June the 4th. Next item on the agenda is a special use development permit, SU 2404. Once again.
Megan Thomas, Planner 1 again. This is another special use permit request for 1703 Highway 412 West, Suite 20. This is directly across from McDonald's over there on the west side. The applicant is requesting to allow greater than 50% age-restricted sales within a C2 zoning district, so similar to the last one that I just presented to you. This is the applicant's letter of intent. Again, this is strictly just because they're a smoke shop, so they have to get the special use for C2 zoning. It'll operate in the same manner as any other commercial retail use would. And this is the overall site view for the property. Staff has not received any calls or correspondence on this request, and staff is recommending approval with no needed conditions. Staff is available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address this special use permit? Seeing no one, entertain a motion for SU 2404.
I move for adoption of SU 24-04.
I have a motion to approve SU 2404. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McKinney?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Renard?
Yes.
K. Williams?
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
T. Williams.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This does go before the board on June the 4th, 2024. Next item on the agenda is redevelopment permit, RZ 2403.
The applicant is requesting to rezone 3.387 acres from A1 agriculture to C2 roadway commercial in order to bring the existing commercial use into compliance. This is the survey for the property to be rezoned. This property has been used for commercial use for over 20 years. You might recall this is the previous RJ Tractor property, and now every year they have the freeze fireworks at this property. The reasoning for this rezoning request is because they want to expand on that commercial use and add some additional commercial uses in there. And so that's what triggered this rezoning request today. This is the future land use designation for the property. You can see it's calling for regional commercial, therefore the proposed C2 zoning district is in line with the intent for the property. And this is the overall site view of the property. Staff has not received any calls or correspondence on this request, and staff is recommending approval with no needed conditions. Staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to come forward and address this rezoning development? Being no one, commissioners? Okay, seeing no comments from the commissioners, I will entertain a motion.
-04 rezone development permit.
I have a motion to approve rezoning development permit RZ 2404. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve RZ 2404. Roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Renard,
Yes.
K. Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
T. Williams,
Yes.
McKinney.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go to the board on June the 4th, 2024. Next item on the agenda is the annexation via election approval. Ben Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the Planning Commission. You should be getting a copy of the PowerPoint being passed around, so just make sure everyone gets a copy of that. So, and this PowerPoint that you're getting is not the one I'm presenting tonight. It's the one from the workshop, but I'll be referring back to it, so it's why you're getting it. So before you is a little bit of a different request from compared to the development permit approvals that you've been looking at, which is typically what the commission considers. What you're looking at is an annexation that's being done through an election method. And this is staff's response to a board goal, which many of you are aware of, to pursue a large-scale annexation through the community-wide election. As you may recall, the commission did consider an annexation of a similar area last summer. However, that effort never moved forward past the ordinance stage due to public opposition. City staff and the board members reviewed several options after that 2023 effort and arrived with a proposal that's before you, which you have also show on the two boards here that are facing you. The area to be annexed is in the orange shading and encompasses 1,874 acres and 147 addresses, most of which will be residential. The territory for consideration is primarily northeast of the city's core, taking in areas that the city staff believes will develop in the future due to sustained population growth being experienced not only in Siloam Springs, but also throughout the Northwest Arkansas region. In terms of outreach, staff wanted to avail the public plenty of opportunities to learn more about the annexation and get involved in the project before it undergoes the final approval stages. This effort was centered around three key areas of outreach. The first was a town hall meeting that was held in this room on April the 11th, attended by 59 individuals. This was an interactive meeting where attendees were able to learn about the annexation and ask questions of city staff from various relevant city departments who were available at that meeting. As some of you saw at the board workshop last week, the meeting attendees were able to provide immediate feedback by placing push pins on a map showing their preference for the annexation, and a copy of that map is included within your packet. In addition to the town hall, staff hosted a roundtable on annexation on April 23rd. This was a slightly different format. It was an open dialogue with 16 annexation stakeholders made up of city residents, county residents, representatives of the city commissions, which Commissioner Renard was gracious enough to sit on that for us, as well as city staff. In addition to the roundtable participants, we had 29 attend this session. The final form of outreach was explanatory videos and posts made on social media, which included a survey, and the results of that were provided at the board workshop last week. And you can also now see that in the printed out PowerPoint that we just passed out to you if you wanted to see that. I think it's towards the very end of the slides there. So one key question we have received is who gets to ultimately decide on the annexation, whether or not it's approved. Using this method, the annexation will be a ballot initiative. So any city resident registered to vote in Siloam Springs having a Siloam Springs address will be eligible to vote in that election. The same goes for the county residents registered to vote with a residential address identified as being within the affected area. So to be clear on this, because I know there's been some confusion about this, if a landowner who lives outside of the area, while they may have interest in the annexation, they're not eligible to vote merely by owning land in the affected territory. They must actually reside in the annexation area. And this is a state statute. This is not something that's decided by the city government or city staff. So here you see the timeline that we set up early on to show where we are in the process. You can see that we're now concluding the board workshop, which was the final workshop. That was last week. At that workshop, staff received no direction from the board as a collective to formally halt the process, so we are resuming forward with the timeline. You can see we are now at the place where the Planning Commission is formally invited to weigh in on the annexation and provide a recommendation on the area and if this should be considered by the city board. You'll see that there are several parts of this approval process, and with the resolution that's under consideration is approved by the board, that will give city staff the green light to proceed with a formal ordinance, which is the instrument that will officially direct the Election Commission to place this matter on the 2024 general election ballot. So the Planning Commission is asked whether or not to proceed with the annexation. A vote yes will not approve the actual annexation for the November ballot. The resolution simply formally directs staff to prepare the ordinance. So just make sure you understand that. This will be the only opportunity that the Planning Commission has to weigh in on this due to the timing for the November election. The ordinance will need to go straight to the board if the resolution is approved.
In the audience that would like to come up and address this, please come forward. Please state your name and your address.
Thank you. Jeff Farmer, 921 21,923 Davidson Road here in Siloam. And that's where my primary residence is. Now, I've got something written here. Had to forgive me when I have to read it because I don't think I can shoot from the hip with this, okay?
Okay?
Okay. I urge the Planning Commission not to recommend these annexation proceedings due to, number one, the absence of water and wastewater benefits to people in the annexed area, and number two, the public opposition to it, both inside the city limits and outside in the proposed annexed lands. I have a list signed with signatures of people of neighbors on Country Club Road and Davidson Road. They're all landowners and with addresses and parcel numbers who are opposed to this part of this 2024 Siloam Springs annexation proceedings and would instead remain landowners in rural Benton County, Arkansas. Many of these landowners are homestead residents like myself with voting rights, and one is a non-homestead resident without voting rights to their lands that they have in the annexed areas as per Arkansas statute, which still kind of perplexes me, but that's what the law says. But they're all American citizens and they have the right to freedom of choice, and this should overrule anything that's flung upon them by any local governing body. The record shows that the city administrator's already admitted that 85% of the comments and statements that he's got has been in a negative reaction to annexation. And last week on May the 7th, board members also declared that some of their constituents have showed negative reaction to annexing more lands and neglecting existing projects that have not been addressed for many years since their lands were annexed here in the past. Specific subjects would have to be brought to the board. They didn't really give any specifics or anything, so I can't give you any kind of specifics of what that is, but that May 7th meeting is where we heard that information at. Each of these American and rural Benton County landowners has their own reasons for resisting annexation, and I'll not venture to guess what that is, but for me and mine, the first problem is the shallowness of benefits in water and sewer infrastructure extensions, which is a kind of a deal breaker to me. The water and wastewater declaration exception can be found on the March 5th board meeting. That would, let's see, a logical business model would be like, you know, to have maybe a timetable of when sewer and water would be extended into the annexed areas. But, you know, and I know there's exceptions when you got 40 acres and somebody wants to develop it. I know that the developer usually ends up paying the bill for extending water and sewer and things like that. So, but that was my first issue. And the second problem I have is the increased taxation. In my case, that extra $55 per 10,000 annexed assessed value in real estate and personal property valuation, which is like 5.5 mils, an extra 5.5 mils to be in the city limits, in my case is going to turn out to be $302 a year. That's due every October 15th. To be in the city limits, and for the life of me, I really can't tell anything there's no real benefit to me to be inside the city limits. And the only saving grace I got is that I'm over 65 and I have a homestead credit, which saves me about $500 or whatever. Or it would that hold the public trust not to dictate what an annexation procedure upon us, Benton County residents, who have opposed and have stated in writing for reasons given as American citizens not to be a part of this city's annexation cattle drive. I'll say that. Now, I've got these lists here I'd like to submit to the board, if you would take them.
Chris? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address this issue? Seeing none, commissioners, it is your turn.
Could we perhaps address some of Mr. Farmer's concerns regarding water and sewer and the timetable, just as a staff? Could someone, Ben or Alan, I don't know, who would field that?
Chris, is there any reason we cannot address some of his concerns, or is that out of line?
Yes, I believe you can discuss those topics. One of the things to note, though, is the city is working on in the early phases of working on a master plan that would address the future implementation of water and sewer services. Our current design for our services go out 15 years. But just as the gentleman suggested, we are looking at how we can create a comprehensive plan that would allow those to extend on a more comprehensive timeline. When we look at master planning, though, our master planning for this, for a lot of our considerations, be it transportation or be it our water and sewer or electric, it does connect to our future growth areas. Whether or not those are immediately available, this area is a part of our growth area. It will continue to grow whether or not this annexation moves forward or not. Therefore, from a staff point, we're looking at, yes, moving forward with the master plan, but we also need to look at other things, for example, that transportation network and other considerations, not just the water and sewer. One of the city administrator's goals, and I won't speak to him, for him because he's here, but one of his goals is to create a comprehensive plan for these different types of considerations, especially related to the water and sewer issue that was discussed. So I didn't know if, Alan, if you wanted to piggyback off
Chris,
of that.
thank you. One of the things that I've been in meetings this week and over the past few months, what we will be bringing to the board for budget this year is early numbers are a little over $200,000 to do a master plan for sewer that would include the possible annexation and our planning area, where we would have a plan going forward to, not just 25, but 26 and years ahead to get sewer out to those areas, and also concentrating. Anybody that knows anything about sewer, and I've learned a lot about sewer, sewer's all about, we used to have I think 5 or 6 lift stations, we have 18, because it's the gravity. Sewer just doesn't run, and living on a mountain, living on hills, the way everything runs, it's on gravity. So we have to have a plan and an engineer coming in to see how that sewer goes down. And then once it goes down, the lift station brings it back up where you continue the pipe to run it down. So those things are very, very important. I would like to see that, and that's something we will be bringing to the board for our budget for '25. Also, our water, we do have a water master plan that needs to be updated, and we're working on that to make sure we get extended water to areas that need it. I know we put a lot of pipe just in our water lines in the last couple of years that go down Highway 59 almost to the RV park. Because again, that planning area where we have to give electric and water to those customers. And you've heard me also say that we're in negotiations right now with Carroll Electric, and hopefully that will be we will finalize that soon, I hope. And then we will be providing, Carroll Electric will possibly have to move out of that planning in our planning area, and we will have to bring our electricity into that area. So there's a lot that plays into that. So if you have questions for me, I'll be happy to try to answer them for you.
Thank you.
I don't know what my question would be from all that. I'm just trying to tie it all together for Mr. Farmer to show him the benefit, but there's really no fixed timeline. So now I don't really have any further questions there.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
even if there was a fixed timeline, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not like if we had the water and sewer ready to go to all 447 of these residents and it was annexed in, it would just be free to them. They would still have to pay to connect to all these things, correct?
That's correct. There are sewer tap fees, and usually what happens is when a development comes in, like the Castlewood, for instance, that you looked at not too long ago, the developer will have to be responsible for extending that sewer or water to their project. And so it kind of happens as development happens, generally. Yeah.
Right, and that's what I thought. I just wanted to make it clear that even though it's not available right now, even when it is available, it will still cost to connect. Right, and you still have the choice to connect or not connect, no matter when it is.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I did want to clarify on that just a little bit, because that is one of the questions that comes up a lot. We do have a lot of county residents that are on septic and well water. And one of the concerns that those people have is, will I get to keep my septic and will I get to keep my well water? And the answer to that is yes. But if they have, for example, let's say you have a 10-acre property and you split that, those will be looked at on an individual case-by-case basis whether or not they would connect to the city water. So there are some instances where there would be development that would be required to connect to city water and city sewer.
But if they've got a 10-acre plot out there and they're going to keep their 10-acre plot and not going to do anything with it, they can keep their well water and septic system in perpetuity.
It's my understanding that yes, there may be some individual cases where that may change based off of any sort of type of violations that may be in place, but if it's properly permitted and everything is currently in place that properly, then until there's some sort of significant change at that location, a new house or a new or a lot split where you would have a new development, then that would be looked at individually.
But if nothing changes, nothing changes.
That's my understanding.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, for annexing, we're not annexing farms as residents. They'd still be zoned agricultural. So there wouldn't have to worry that they would have to mow their fields in order to be in compliance with city guidelines for how high your lawn is. And so there's been conversation at these other meetings to try to clarify that there will be possibly even an agricultural rate that's being looked into by the city electric.
It was my understanding of one of the workshops that everything comes in agricultural, and then we go forward from there on the zoning. Correct, Ben?
That's correct. In order to keep things as simple as possible, everyone's coming in as A1 agricultural. And then later on, if the annexation is approved by the voters, the city will come back and look at cases of properties where, say, there's clearly a business there, not an agricultural use. We would go and request to have those rezoned to the most appropriate land use. And then when development happens, we will be looking at the future land use map to guide, where the future industrial and residentials and neighborhoods and that type of thing would happen. But we're going to allow development to drive that rather than just initially zoning everything right off the bat, because it could cause a lot of nonconformity issues especially if the property is, the owners don't have any intention of selling or whatever, and they want to keep it as a farm, that it would make sense is to have them come in as A1. So,
Bottom line, if I understand what I think I understand here, the whole bottom line of this annexation is come November. I mean, if it leaves us, goes to the board says, yeah, let's move forward as is, it goes on the ballot. It's the residents, voters that says yes, annex, or no, leave it alone. Am
That
I
is
correct?
That is correct.
What we're doing here tonight is, as commissioners, is sending to the board, telling the board to go forward as is, not changing anything that's in there. If you, board, if you want to annex, do it as is. Is that in simple terms?
yes, that's correct. You're voting on the map that's before you. As a planning commission, do you affirm that this is the best interest of the city, and then forward your recommendation to the city board, which they will consider that next week, next Tuesday?
If I
Commissioner, you-
may, Mr. Commissioner, just for your knowledge, we had a workshop last Tuesday, that was 7 days ago, and it was shown of the option, and I've had no board members reach out to me to make any changes or additions, subtractions or additions to the plan.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any other comments or questions?
So if we vote to recommend this, this will be the plan. This is what will get voted on in November. There's not going to be any changes from here on out.
Mr. Chair, I can answer that. The item that will occur after this is we will draft a resolution that will go to the board. By law, the board does have the ability to amend that resolution. So yes, they do have the ability to amend what is being recommended by the Planning Commission. This is an advisory committee. However, if they adopt what the Planning Commission recommends to move forward, then that would lock, at that time, that would lock those boundaries. And it would authorize us to draft an ordinance, which, if approved, that ordinance would send the item to the voters.
I think, for me, I think that's, I'm all for putting it in the hands of the people. But, I think the real feedback needs to come at that board of directors meeting. They're the ones that have the opportunity to make revisions to that document. Just, that's my comment.
Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we forward to the Board of Directors the annexation proposal as presented.
I have a motion to forward the annexation proposal. I'm sorry, this brace messes my tongue up. I have a motion to forward. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Bernard,
Yes.
Kay Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
T. Williams,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Okay, this will go to the Board of Directors on next week, May 21st. Next item on the agenda is easement acceptance. Megan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have 2 slides to actually show you. This is the first round of easement acceptance. We had a bunch last month, so this is your first round that you're doing easement acceptance on. It's a couple of lot splits. So do y'all have any questions on those ones? Okay. And then these are the last 2 that you're doing it. So that's our first minor subdivision. With our new ordinance, we were able to do that. So you'll see that larger one over there. And then a property line adjustment along Davidson. Any questions on that? Okay.
No question? I'll entertain a motion to accept the easements as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the easement approval as presented.
I have a motion to accept the easements as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Kay Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
T. Williams,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bernard.
Yes.
Okay, last item on the agenda is the board and staff approved permits. You all received copies of these. Give you a minute to look them over and see if there's any questions or concerns. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.